feel like you have plateaued? What incentives work best when motivating your team? These are all things we're going to talk about here in like 30 minutes. I'm going to move through it quickly. How do you become the leader that others choose to follow even before you start making any money? And then what are some of your top tips in leading your team, especially at events like this? You guys ready? Yeah. Okay, good. So listen, to address and give you ideas on all the things I just mentioned, there's several things that work. I'm going to share with you just some of the things that we've done that have been effective. But I don't want you to think that this is it, it's in stone, there's nothing else. I'm sure there are folks right at your table that can share with you other ideas and answers that would adequately address the questions that I just went over. So these are just some ideas. Take some notes, and hopefully they will benefit you as they benefited me throughout my 20-something years here in the industry. Let me just say this. I'm a big storyteller. I tell a lot of stories. That means the truth, but you're wrapping the truth in a story. Sometimes story means a lie. That's not the story I'm talking about. So I'm a big storyteller, so I'll tell a lot of stories. You don't have to take notes on the stories, but if I were you, I would actually take a note on the story, because stories have more impact when you're motivating your team than telling them exactly what to do. Sharing a story of someone who's done what it is you're trying to emphasize, right? So it's a story. And so many of the notes I take, even from Wes, I'm like, oh, that's a good story. And I utilize that story to empower others within the team. So just want you to know, I'll be sharing some how-tos, but I'll also wrap the story around each how-to, as you'll see as I go through this. So one, let's go back to the very first question we're going to address, and that's, how do you create a winning environment? How do you create a winning environment, no matter how long it takes for your team to win? So one, you want to make sure that you keep stories fresh, right? Some fresh stories. So if you continue to tell the same stories over and over and over again, people start to think, I wonder if there's any new success happening. Right? And we do this unintentionally. Sometimes we parade the same leaders across the stage sharing the same exact testimony, and for new people, that's awesome because they've never seen it before. But for folks who've been around for a while, they start to wonder if anyone else is having success. And so we have to identify new stories. Now, sometimes we don't share new stories because we're thinking that they have to be the $1 million story. But the $1 million story is not the story you want to tell. You want to tell the story that has the most people celebrating at that level. Okay, the reason why you want to do that is because people are not just looking at the one person, they're looking at how many people are having success at that level. And when you can celebrate that $500 a month or whatever that level is, then people start to say, man, if 7 people have done that, I'm going to be the 8th. If you keep celebrating the one story and only one person has that story, people start to say things like, well, that's special. That guy started at this time. That young lady was already in real estate, so she had a center of influence, or she had a big client base or customer base. People give themselves excuses because we've allowed them to do so because we didn't tell enough fresh stories and enough stories where people can start to talk themselves in to having success. So sharing those stories. Now listen, another thing that happens when we don't tell fresh stories, people start to generalize. They say things like everybody. Well, it seems like everybody is having problems with this. Or it seems like nobody's having success with that. And you'll find that people generalize until you can create fresh stories, and fresh stories often. Let me give you an example. Because sometimes we have to help people to package a story. Because there are some great stories, but not everybody knows how to package their story, so the story isn't as impactful as it could be. So I was in Chicago doing this presentation, and I said, by the way, it was a Q&A, a question and answer session, and someone said, well, we don't have a lot of people here making 6 figures, and can you give us any insight there? And I said, sure. Let me ask you a question. How many people can now point to someone in the room who's making $500 a month? And they were quiet just like this. I said, hold on. You guys can't point. Just give me 5 people right now. Tell me their story, whether they're a teacher, a mechanic, and tell me their $500 a month story. And people didn't know the story. And they didn't know the stories of the $500 a month people because, one, we made people feel like it was embarrassing to tell a $500 a month story because we only paraded the 6-figure a year story. And then people become embarrassed. They don't want to talk about $500 a month if we're only celebrating 6 figures. Who in the world wants to talk about 500? Because now I feel like I'm a loser. Right? But $500 a month is a win. That is a big win. So I said, honey, so we couldn't tell the story. I said, so the problem is not the 6 figures. You can create the 6-figure incomes here in Chicago. The problem is we're not celebrating enough $500 a month stories, which creates the 6-figure income earner. So I said, who's willing to come up and tell me their $500 a month story? And so we had a gentleman come up and I asked him a bunch of questions. And I reshaped his story, retold it. And that story ended up creating several 6-figure income earners. But it was the story of $500 a month. Here's the story. I'll just tell it as I reshaped it. So this gentleman was 66 years old. And he said, Darnell, my lifestyle was that of a dream lifestyle. Most people would call my lifestyle a dream lifestyle. He said I drove the cars that most people would put on their vision board. I lived in a house that most folks would drive by and expand their dream space. He said, I've taken my wife on trips like to Hong Kong for our anniversary. He said, but the economy shifted and I lost my business. And he said, everything changed. And he said, I'm not really sure how to express to you how it feels when you have a lot and then lose it. He says, one thing if you've never had it because you can get used to not having it. But it's one thing when you're used to having it and then have to get used to not having what you used to having. Don't ask me to say that again. So here's what he said. He said, my wife came home and wanted me to watch a video. I told her I can't watch a video right now because I'm too busy trying to get us back to our lifestyle. She said, that's why I need you to sit down and watch this video. He said, if you know my wife, she's only going to ask twice. He said, so I sat down and I watched the video. And he said, I couldn't believe that I had an opportunity to get it all back. But here's the power of the story. He said, right now, I'm a pizza man at 66 years old. I walk up the street to go work at the pizza shop. And he says, I can't tell you what it's done to me to go from my lifestyle to now work at a pizza shop. But this young lady right here, he's pointing at his wife, she was standing up here with him. He said, this young lady right here, when I come home with dough on my apron, hugs and kisses me the exact same way as when I open the door to a suite at a Hong Kong hotel. He said, she kisses me the same way. That hasn't changed. And he starts crying, right? And he said, because she has not changed how she loved me because of what I can give her. That's what makes me want to get it back even more. Right? He's crying out, she's crying. He says, and I made $700 last year. This is a $500 a month story, right? About it, $700. He said, I made $700 last month. And I'm more excited than when I made millions because this time there's residuals attached to it. And no one and no recession will ever take it away from me. Right? And everyone's clapping and he's clapping. So what that story do, right? It touched someone who's in their 60s who thought it was too late. It touched someone who had a spouse that wasn't that supportive, who thought, man, perhaps I need to support my spouse. Right? It touched someone who's had a lot and lost it and was in some type of depression, wondering if they can ever get it back. Because it does something to your ego when you used to be able to provide and now you can't. My point is that story touched a lot. It created a winning environment because a lot of folks believed they could win too. Not, here's a guy who made $1 million. You guys with me? Okay, good. My point is, we call a lot of stories like that up. We celebrate a lot of $500 a month stories. I said, when you guys go eat, find out some other $500 a month stories. And guess what? People were willing now to share their $500 a month story. But before, they felt again embarrassed to do so. When you create an environment where people are willing to share the small wins, then you equal big wins. Got it? All right, good. All right, how do you develop and nurture patience with your team? Nurture patience with your team. First, tell great stories of patience. Stories again, right? I think I have stories now for everyone. Tell great stories of patience. All right, if someone's been around for 7 months, they haven't had the success that they like. someone, that's why they're thinking, I'm not having the success that I want. If they weren't comparing themselves, how do you know how long this is supposed to take? You don't know, right? It's like, I never forget, I went to this Bible study. Don't get the religion out, get the story out of it. And it was 7 of us at this Bible study, and the pastor gave us some seeds and some soil in a little cart. I don't know if you've ever done this in school before. You grow a little plant. And so he gave us the seeds and said, go away and bring it back a month from now. And one of the Bible studies gave us what date to bring it back. I did so. And I put my seeds in the soil. I watered it, put it in a little sunroom area of my home where the sun came in, and nothing was happening. Now, I'm not a gardener, I'm not a botanist, I'm not really sure how to grow flowers and plants, but that was okay. I just figured this was going to take a while before it came up. Until I called my buddy Mike. He was at the Bible study too. I said, Mike, how's your plant look? He said, you mean your plant passed again? I said, yeah. He said, man, you're not going to believe it. I had to repot it. I said, what? Well, watch this. Before it wasn't a big deal because I wasn't comparing myself. And I said, stop lying. He said, no, I'm not lying. You want me to take a picture of it? I said, no, I don't want you to take a picture. I'm mad now, right? So watch this. I said, so what did you do? Like, how many times did you water it? Like, he said, are you serious? I said, yes, in the morning, in the evening. Like, I want to know specifically. I said, where did you put it in your house? Where the sun sets or where the sun rises? East or west? He's like, dude, you got to be kidding. I said, no, I'm not. I need to know. He wouldn't tell me, so I hung up. So I called Linda. Linda was at the Bible study too. So I called Linda. I said, Linda, what's your plant look like? Plant passed again? She said, yeah. She said, when it came up the first week, did it drop down? I think I killed it. And I laughed. I felt kind of good. She didn't kill it. It was bad. I feel bad for saying this, but I actually felt kind of good that she wasn't succeeding. This is bad. But this is what people do. So come back to Bible study a month later, make a long story short. I walk in, still my plant, nowhere to be seen. I know it's in there somewhere. But there's nothing coming out, no greenery at all. Mike, he comes in, and I promise you, it looked like he had gone to the store and bought this huge pot. And he's bragging, walking and leaning like he's real heavy. And Linda, sure enough, she comes in and she had 2 things that had grown up and they all dragging forward. Right? And so everybody else had different results. So the pastor's laughing the hardest, right? We're kind of laughing, but the pastor's laughing the hardest. And he says, we said, you know what? What are you laughing at? He said, well, I gave you all different seeds because God didn't make any of you all the same. And it's going to take you different times to develop your success and take different nourishment to get there. Because people start at different places in life. You guys getting this? Oh, you guys getting this? Some people start, right? And early they're talking to people, right? They talk to anybody, anyway. You know that person that says, I sell ice to Eskimos. You know that guy. Right? But that wasn't me when I got started. It took me time. I went through 3.5 years. I call it my season of preparation. That's right. Because I was afraid. Look, the worst thing for me is to talk to a stranger. Never am I going to do right. This is my thinking. But some folks started that way. You know, the 8-year-old who walks up and introduces themselves to strangers. My kids always hide behind me. But you know, the 8-year-old, hi, my name is Johnny. I'm like, you're 8. What are you doing? But some people start there at 8. And so at 20, it's easy for them to join our industry. Everybody with me? And so when you talk about nurturing patience, it's different for different people. So we just tell stories. Like I got this guy, Tony. He didn't sell his first membership, nor recruit his first person. All right, so not his first product, nor one distributor joining his team for 11 months. And he had 7 siblings. And that one said yes to buy his product, and that one said yes to join his team. But now he's making $250,000 a year. Did the 11 months keep him away, or did it shape and grow him? So when the real people came along, he had preparation on his side. And he didn't mess up on the person who came month 11 based on what he had done 1 through 11. So sometimes you almost need to prepare yourself for the real person that's coming along and practice where all the people are going to quit anyway. You guys get what I'm saying? So telling stories will help you to nurture patience. If you only tell a story, again, going back to the first question, where people feel like they're going to make $1 million their first month, then we actually are talking people out of the business because they start to feel like they're losing. So make sure that you share the stories with folks. Make sure that we're painting the vision. Like, I love short-term goals, right? Hey, what are we going to do this month? The sense of urgency is important, but also paint the vision because it helps people to see long term. Like my buddy Mike, I used to always say to him, he said, man, I missed my goal this month. I said, no worries. I can't wait to see what your life's going to be like next Christmas. Because he used to always say, man, Christmas is different in my household. And so when he didn't reach his goal that first year, he's like, I can't believe I didn't reach my goal. I said, man, but I can't wait to see the expression on your face at 32 years old on that Monday when you don't go in to deliver mail because you used to be a postal worker. See, he was 27. He didn't hit his goal at 28, but we talked about a 5-year plan. 27, 5 years, that's 32. So I still paid the bit, but at 32, watch what happens. And he's like, yeah, I know. So it kept him, right? It kept him seeing that at some point I'll get there. So yes, short term is great, but also talk about the next year. Can you imagine 3 years from now? Can you imagine what you're going to do with your grandkids or your kids that you don't even have yet, right? So paint the vision. You guys got it? Yes. All right. When you stop working with teammates, this is a good one. My gosh, like I want to say right away sometimes, because there's some discerning moments. But really it's when people stop plugging in, right? When people stop plugging in, it's a time where I stop working with them, right? They're not plugged into anything, right? They don't join a webinar, they don't get on a conference call, they don't come out to an event, because that pretty much says that they feel like they can do it on their own. And why do I need to support them if they feel like they can do it on their own? And so if people don't plug in, there's really nothing you can do for them, because when they introduce people, those people won't plug in because they don't know to plug in unless you built a relationship with those people quickly like Wes talked about. So it's tough to deal with that though, right? So there's a 20-80 rule. You've probably heard of this. 20% of people do 80% of the work and 80% of people do 20% of the work. Well, I meet with my 20%ers one-on-one. And my 80%ers, I meet when I'm already going to be at that place anyway. I don't take time away from my 4 kids and my wife to go meet with an 80%er. That means someone who barely plugs in, barely doing. Now, I don't say no because that's mean. I don't say, no, I'm not meeting with you. I just say, hey, yeah, when you come out on Tuesday, I'll be there. And then afterwards, let's chop it up a little bit. Let's chat. Because I'm going to be there anyway, but I'm not taking my time to go meet with a person who refuses to plug into stuff I know they can't plug into. There's one thing when they can't plug in, I understand, right? My sister-in-law's a single mom, so it's tough for her to plug into everything. But it's one thing when you can't plug in, it's another thing when you decide not to plug in. You guys see what I'm saying? So when people decide not to plug in, I can't work with you. Not on an individual basis, but when you come out to an event, then we'll connect because we're around everybody else. You guys getting this? Yep. It's critical because this is a business. My wife says I have a big heart and I give to my own detriment, right? When I'm sick, I still give. She's like, you give too much. And in the beginning of my business, that really hurt me. And it was hard for me to look at this as a true business. And until you treat it like $1 million business, it will not pay you like $1 million business. We cannot bring everybody with us. And that was my biggest mistake, trying to get everybody to come with me. And everybody's not coming with us. Everybody with me? Yes. All right. 2 people care about our bills. You and the people you owe. Just trying to help y'all, that's all.
That's great.
All right. The next question was, how do you gain more influence with people? How do you gain more influence with people? You guys catch it up here? I know I'm talking fast. Stay with me. All right, so how do you gain more influence with people? One, talk about the connection you have with people who do have influence. Right? Talk about, so for example, if I'm being mentored by Art Jonak, that I can say, hey listen, I'm being mentored by someone who's had a tremendous amount of success, an international businessman, and I can't believe he's mentoring me, he's tutoring me, he's sharing with me the things that he's done to create a significant income, but more importantly, how to empower and help other people, how to help them to do the exact same thing. And so all of a sudden, I get a little bit of influence only because I'm connected to influence. You guys get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you got to be able to drop your ego in order for this to work. Right? You can't say, listen, because I am and I'm going to be and I'm serious about, because they know your situation. right? And if you're not driving the car they think you should drive, then that's their reason for not following you, because they think you don't have enough influence. All right, so one, who you connected to. This is key. This, by the way, this type of empowerment takes a major shift in attitude, because you really have to want to see other people win. And not everybody wants to see other people win, and people can tell when you're just saying it because you want to make money off of them, or you're saying it because you really want to see them win. Yep. People can discern. You guys with me? Yeah. So you really have to meet that. This takes a shift in attitude. The second thing you do, the first thing you do is talk about who you're connected to. The second thing you can do is talk about your own success. Right? This is how you gain influence. And I don't mean financial success, but what you've been able to do with the money. Right? It's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe finally I have an opportunity to make it to all my kids' games. Or I can't believe my wife and I hadn't taken a date in years because of our schedules, and now we're able to take a date, go on our date night in the middle of the week. Right? So whatever you're able to do with it, that gives you influence, right? Because people start to say, my gosh, my mom was just telling me the same thing. My sister's been complaining about the same thing, right? So that's going to give you some influence there. So telling your own story. So again, one training I could probably do for an hour itself is how to package your own story, right? Because here's where I am. Here's what I'm doing now to get rid of the pain point from where I am. You guys get that? Let me give you an example here. So I was coming to Orlando last year, and I had an Uber to come here. And so this is what I mean. You gotta be vulnerable though, because no one wants to meet someone that says, you know who I am? You know how much money I made? That doesn't duplicate, and it's kind of arrogant, right? Because I think sometimes people think once you make 7 figures, you go to anybody. You know what? You know how much money I made? You can't do that. But I'm in Uber, right? This guy's 28 years old. I know this because I asked a bunch of questions. I get in the Uber, and he has 2 phones up because he's an Uber driver and a Lyft driver, and he's got all these things going on, and sharp guy, right? He's motivated. He's like, hey man, how you doing? Where you come from? I said, Maryland. He's like, oh, okay. So where you from? I said, New York. I said, wow, how long you been in Florida? He said, for a few years. I said, cool, man. I said, what you got going on down there? What are you doing? And he's like, man, I'm an Uber driver, Lyft driver. I'm working on another technology company with a friend of mine, and we're in pre-launch phase, and this is going in, right? Like 10 minutes. It was nonstop. But I knew I had 25 minutes or 20 minutes or so to get from the airport to the hotel. So I'm just giving it some time. Some people go in immediate prospect mode. Hi, I don't know if you'd be interested, but I'm like, oh! Don't let them talk. So he's talking. This is how you gain influence. Watch this. And so I said, how old are you, man? He said, 28. I said, wow. I said, I remember 28, man. And I paused just like this. I said, that was the worst financial year of my entire life. And he's looking through the rearview mirror now. You know, you can see people looking back at you. And I said, it was a tough year for me, man, but thank God, man, 29, it all turned around. And it's been amazing. Like, it's been great. So you know what his next question was? What did you do at 29 to turn it around? Before I could answer, he said, because honestly, man, I wasn't going to say it, but like I told you, I'm 28 now, and this is actually the worst time of my life. Here's the same guy that said, I do Uber, I do Lyft, I got a pre-launch, right? But vulnerability allowed him to feel like he could be vulnerable too. Y'all get this? He would have never said that unless I said it first. Here's what I mean by influence. Now look, if you don't have to do it this way if you're already making money, but if you're not making a lot of money, there's a whole lot of folks that making a whole lot of money, and they need someone who they can talk to. But no one wants to talk to someone that they feel like the loser. But because I talked about how bad 28 is, so whatever you're thinking it was worse, he was okay talking about how bad 28 is for him. And so he says, this is a tough time for me, man. I moved down to Florida, and then he really opened up. He's like, this girl pregnant, and he was going all the way in. Something I really want to hear because I want to share with you all today. So he says, he says, man, whatever you did to change it, I want to know what it is. That was it. You got to know what I'm saying? And before I got out the car, we pulled up to the hotel. He's like, hey man, give me a fist. He gave me a fist bump, and that's how you know it was a real connection. Fist bump. And he joined the company, but didn't do anything. But he joined, that's the point of the story. Last way to gain influence real quickly. Stop laughing. Last way to gain influence real quickly, that's what I'm talking about today, is be different than you used to be. Be different than you used to be. People can tell, they say things like, something about you is different. And I'm not just talking about be different in terms of getting a new house or a car. I'm saying you respond to things differently. Right? Things that used to upset you, and people can tell, it doesn't even upset you anymore. Why? Because now you've been in an environment where you focus on the solution, not the problem. Right? Before we used to complain with complainers. Now, you probably notice it's hard to be around people for 1 minute that we used to spend days around. It's like, ew. I used to be like that. You know what I mean? We didn't even notice it was that bad because we were like it. So when you gain some influence, it's like, man, well, something about you is so different. People want to know why you're so different. It has nothing to do with the money, but you're changing. Then you attract different things because you become someone different. All right.
That's good.
All right, coming to a close. You guys okay? I'm talking really fast. You like fast? Okay, good. How do you transition people into becoming independent leaders? How do you transition people into becoming independent leaders? Okay, good. So this one's interesting too, because you could really unintentionally create a whole bunch of dependent people. And as your team starts to grow, and you have very few leaders to shoulder the weight of a team, because a team comes with a lot of problems. Be careful what you ask for. A lot of issues, a lot of complaining. I feel like a psychologist half the time. They don't like college, but that's fine. So without leaders to help you out with that, man, you almost feel like, man, this is a job. And you don't want this to feel like a job. You want this to feel like it's something you enjoy every single day, you're excited about. And that comes with developing leaders who can handle things you don't have to handle because you're on vacation and you know they're going to do a great job at handling what you would normally handle. Let me show you how to do that. All right. Sometimes I take notes on me, by the way, that's what I do. And sometimes I say something like, that was good, dude. I just can't tell you. And confidence. Man, this has really helped me out. I mean, we've been blessed to have a whole bunch of folks on our team that are 6 figures and 7 figures, and it's because we've increased their confidence, if you're taking notes, and competence. Confidence and competence. Right? And when people don't feel like they know, they don't feel good about doing it. Right? They don't feel confident. And when people don't feel confident, they don't do. So they go hand in hand. You guys get this? Good. So confidence and competence. Let's talk about how to nurture and grow those things real quickly. So one, you want to celebrate every win you can. This increases confidence and competence. Because if we don't, sometimes they fail to do it again because they didn't think that result would equal this massive dream over here. I'll give you an example. So I watch people present a lot, right? The folks I'm grooming. And they may say a lot, or they may not control the stage well. But I'm not just looking for the things they're doing wrong, I'm looking for the things they're doing right. Right? You've heard of the sandwich technique? Right? You find something to say great first, then the meat, right? So it's the bread. Then the meat is the tough part. And then you end it with something nice. So I'm always in the sandwich technique, but it's a habit, right? So I don't have to think about sandwich nice first. It's just a habit. So at some point it becomes a habit. So when someone's presenting, I'll find a thing or things that they did well, because sometimes they don't realize that they even said it or did it. And I'm like, man, that was great. That story was so impactful. You should share that every time. They're like, really? Because perhaps they weren't going to do that same thing again because they didn't know it was so great. So you want to make sure, all of us should be making sure that we celebrate every win that we can, all right? Whether it's a presentation, whether it's an activity. So I didn't say result, I said activity, right? Not result, but activity. Like showing up is an activity. So whether a guest showed up with them or not, or prospect showed up or not, doesn't matter. They showed up. Right? So they showed up, that's a win. So you celebrate that win so that they keep showing up. Because if they stop showing up, then they can't bring a guest out or prospect out because now they're not coming out. So we find a way to celebrate the activities as much as possible. That way they become more confident and they feel like, man, I'm just going to keep coming. One day somebody's going to come with me. Now, meanwhile, we get a chance to shape and mold and grow and help them with prospecting skills and help them with presentation skills and help them with follow-up. But what good is any of that if they're no longer showing up? So the key is I got to keep them showing up until I can get them to learn how to get more people to show up with them. So this is confidence and competence. So competence, we're teaching, we're showing, hey, listen, that was awesome. I'm so glad you did that call. If I were to change anything, I would do this because I believe you'd have more impact with them based on this person already earning 6 figures in their career. Don't say this because it could sound like you're minimizing what they've already achieved in life. They're like, oh, thank you. You guys see what I'm saying? All right, good. Also, taking folks to the places that you're growing in. So if you're going to leadership academies, if you're going to anything that you feel like you're going with, take people with you. Right? I even invest in people sometimes. Right? So let's say a ticket was $40. If you can afford the $40 and that person can't afford the $40, then perhaps invest in that person and get that person to an event that you're sitting at. That way they can learn what you're learning. And sometimes they get it even greater than what you get. Now, look, there are people on my team who recruit way better than me, who sell way better than me. I just got into the events, they learned from the people that were teaching me, and they got better than me. But if they learned from me, they would sell what I sell, which ain't a whole lot. I'm trying to help y'all. All right, so we're talking about confidence and competence. By the way, if you could show them rather than just tell them, then let's do that too. Right? If you could show them rather than tell them, people call me all the time about back office, about I say, look, let me show you. This is my point. Hey, let's set up, tonight I'm actually going to do a Zoom or webinar. Let me show you how this works. I'll screen share. That also helps to create independent leaders. Lastly, find a space for them to excel. Find a space for them to excel. So what does that mean? Some people are better at doing certain things than they are other things. For example, there's a young lady on my team who doesn't really present like I'm doing right now. And when she's tried it, it's messed her up and it's messed a whole lot of other people up. So pushing her out there doesn't really work for anybody. But she's really good at making everybody feel like family. And so when we're out eating, she talks about building culture. And she's comfortable in that environment because we're at a table at a diner with 12 of us. And so I'm still developing an independent leader in that sense. Because that's her space where she's good. Instead of putting her up here and she's fumbling, her mouth's getting dry, she can't talk, she can't breathe, there's white stuff coming around. It was horrible. All right, two more we gotta end. You guys okay? All right. So what incentives work best with your team? What incentives work best for your team? That was a tough one because different things motivate different people. Right? So you got recognition, you got time with leaders. Hey, look, if you do this, you'll get time with this person. You have leaderboards because some people are competitive. Some folks are, it's the money. Hey, look, I don't need all the recognition. Just pay me. If it's $5 on the table, I'm going to win. So there's a lot of people who are motivated by different things. And because of that, because you're building a diverse team, a team of people who come from all walks of life, one thing that's good to do is to ask folks, right? Hey, listen, what motivates you? Now that you know the group you're working with, right? You're not working with your entire team, typically. You're working with a subgroup. Right? You're teaching leaders how to work with their subgroups. And so the key is to find out what motivates people. So with the 12 people I work with most closely now, they're a newer group I'm working with, I can tell you what motivates them. I know their reason why, right? So I know the different things I can put on the table to move them, levers that drive them. Rather than just saying, hey, look, you should see what Tony did. You should be doing a lot better. Some people hate comparing them with someone else. Somebody else will say, oh, Tony did that? You haven't seen anything yet. And some people are driven by you comparing them with somebody else. But if you mess it up, you can actually push someone out the business because now they don't like you as a leader because they feel like all you're doing is comparing them to somebody else. You guys see this?
Yep.
So it's different for different folks. So it's good to know. And by the way, when you build relationships with your team, you're able to say, look, how can I lead you better? If there's anything I've done wrong, if you don't mind sharing that with me so I can learn how to lead better. They may say, hey, sometimes you compare and I don't like that. So you get to learn, right? And you have to be okay with taking that, by the way. Right? As a leader, you have to be okay. You can't say, well, I can't believe you actually, I didn't mean for you to tell me. You have to trust. All right. All right, look, people are different. Look, my kids grew up in the same house, same food, and they're so different. Like, very different. My daughter, she just wants to know if someone else knows what she did good. So she'll say, did you tell Auntie I got straight A's? Does Grandma know? And that motivates her. And I was like, yeah, Grandma know really what she said. And she's so happy that somebody else knows that she did good. My next son, which is my youngest son, he just wants to know if the person he respects most is proud of him. That's me, by the way. But he does. He's like, when he got his black belt, he said, Dad, are you proud of me? I said, I'm very proud. He was like, thank you, Dad. I didn't want to quit because I wanted to make you proud. He kept going because, and then people like that on your team, right? You say, guess what? Wes said, congratulations on your new achievement. You mean Wesley? Hold on, no way. He actually said that? It's a big deal because of somebody they respect. My next son, which is my middle son, he's only driven by a reward, by a trophy. He'll say things like that. So if I score a touchdown, what you gonna give me? How about you just score a touchdown, bro? Win for the team. He doesn't say, get an A, what you gonna give me? How about you just get an A? Proves that you're smart. But those people like that, they'll say, so if I do this, what you gonna give me? How about the commission that the company just paid you? And then my last son, my oldest son is special. Because I still haven't figured out what motivated him. I just can't figure it out. And there are going to be people like that on your team. You can't figure, like, I have no idea how to motivate this person. That's my son. I love him. Great kid. But I have no idea. He brought home D's in school. D as in Darnell. D. I said, son, you can't bring home D's. I had a good talk with him. He said, Dad, D's mean don't worry about it. I'm going to be a millionaire. That's what he said. That's what he said. I'm going to be a millionaire like you. These don't matter. So I really had a tough talk with him. So I thought it worked. Guess what he brought home the next lesson? F's. He turned the D's to F's. I said, son, I'm not paying for you to get F's. He said, Dad, chill. S means forget about it. I'm going to be a millionaire like you. This is what he said. He's doing great now, but all right, last one.
I love it.
All right, let's give a couple here. How do you become the leader that others choose to follow before you even are making serious money? Before you're even making serious money? So these are things that don't require a fat bank account. Charisma, character, integrity, honesty. Right? And you can be an honest person, and it has nothing to do with your bank account. I'm so thankful that my team decided to follow me before I was making money. I mean, I'm humbled by that. Because I know in today's world, a lot of people want to see the Ferrari first. They want to see the watch first. You guys get what I'm saying? They want to see the house. The house I lived in, up to $700,000. Up to $700,000 a year, I lived in the same house that was up for foreclosure when I joined.
Yeah.
When I joined my network marketing business. And one of the bathrooms didn't work. That's a little embarrassing. People come over like, hey, don't use that one. You gotta wiggle the thing too much. Go upstairs. It's true. This is no joke. But they still followed me. Now, a couple folks quit because they said you can't be making that kind of money still living here. This is what society has done to us.
That's right. That's right.
Right? But when you've been so far in debt, I mean, like when it hurts, you refuse to go back that way.
That's right.
So we were banking, we were investing. I said, there's no way ever. I'm not looking to go buy $1 million house right now until I have liquidity, until I have it, right? So we didn't use the network marketing money to buy a house. We used the investments from our network marketing money to buy a house.